New York City football community, get your popcorn, because we're about to get into it. Off the Grid is going to be something like you've never seen before.
Yeah, Off the Grid, stand up. SBC, Black Elvis, Roddy, OG, it's wavy. Look, started from the bottom, so we off the grid. Tryna make it to the top, we soon live off the grid. Had dreams of making teams, I was just a kid. But we off the grid, yeah, we off the grid. When they come up, so we off the grid. Had dreams of the league, we was all just kids. And the bulls from the underground, they often miss the podcast, bringing light so they don't call it quits. Now pass the rock, I'm open on the 10. They call me wavy in the red zone for the win. Then do your dance on them, raise the roof, we got the fans roaring. Catch a pick and then do it again. Chicago ain't my home, but I can't bear to see us lose. Playing rough like Emmitt Smith, I'm bringing 22s. I move smooth through the traffic like convertibles. Try to play me man to man and I'ma have to prove you. Look good, feel good, play good. Only talking prime time, I need to pay good. Was more than just a game, we wasn't from the same hoods. The ball kept us off the block, had to try to remain good. Started from the bottom, so you know we off the grid. Trying to make it to the top, so we live off the grid. Had dreams of making teams, I was just a kid. Oh, we off the grid? Yeah, we off the grid.
Hey fellas, what's up? We're back. Season 2, Off the Grid. How y'all feeling?
Can't complain, I feel great. Football is started. Playoff time, brackets are set.
That's right, excited.
Good, I feel good about coming back. We missed y'all. We had some time off. We're bringing you better interviews, fresh material.
Good content.
Good background.
All coming
Off the Grid. We're here, Season 2. I'm your host, the Commish, along with my boys D-Dub and Roddy.
So, a lot of interesting things to talk about. First and foremost, kudos to Coach Spags and Alondo program for locking in the #1 seed and securing a bye in the first round. And then, the rest of the way out, no disrespect to anybody, but it's really a coin toss. There's a lot of interesting stories that are going to get told in the next 72 hours.
I'm going with those boys from the concourse. I heard they started late, finished strong.
And I can attest to that too. They play St. Anthony's on Friday night, so they got to go over there, and I think that's going to be the hardest game out of all of the games in the bracket. But there is a tale that Cardinal Hayes does come out strong in late games, so they might be able to pull it off.
I receive all of that. I guess having to bring balance to the panel. Being a late starter is cool. It's a nice optic, but at the end of the day, it can become dangerous. Sometimes it's hard to just turn it on. But I will say that Hayes had a thriller at the rooftop against Step last week. That game
which is why I think it's so important to emphasize, like, regardless of stand-ins or rankings, like, any team can go out there and beat any of those teams in the league on any day.
Yeah, so we got #4 St. Anthony's at home against Cardinal Hayes, Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
And then we have Farrell against Christ the King, Farrell being #2.
Who you got on that?
I'm going with Christ the King.
Yeah, I got Christ the King. And I get the whole, Farrell is one of those teams that could be able to come out there and be disciplined and beat a team, but I don't know. I'm taking the athlete.
I think I'm going to go with Christ the King on this also. Some of it is sentiment. I think Coach Brown has really worked hard to build that program up. They moved from the AA to the AAA a few years ago, but have been heavily criticized about being first-round exits in the playoffs in consecutive years. That said, everybody chips away in at some point, so we're hoping that Coach Brown can pull one out this year and that program can see some success.
What's the last game?
And then we're going to have #3, Stepanak at Kellenberg. No disrespect.
Stepanak wins that game as well.
Kellenberg, typically has been a AA program. But what I will say is, as a AA program, they have not shied away from the work. They have consistently taken AAA games on their schedule every year, and I think it's been a very integral part of them dominating on the AA level. I just think
those teams, I can't say that they don't have what it takes because of that aspect of their teams, like the discipline part, and that they do what they're coached to do. But I don't know, I don't put my money on those teams at the end.
Something interesting that I observed, I actually got to see a Kellenberg game last week, and they look like the old school cookie cutter weighted football team where the receiver, the quarterback, the tight end all look like the same kid. They all have almost the same size.
T vibes.
They move. They play up tempo football.
I'm going with the underdog.
If you come out sleeping, you better believe. I can guarantee you they execute. So they're well coached. They can execute. The question is, do they have the personnel to match up with a AAA team? And we're gonna find out.
Kellenberg, Cinderella, 1 round.
I don't know. Speaking of underdogs, we were able to get a great interview of a guy who comes from the Bronx. He played on teams with me, and now he's playing great football at Cornell University, Damon Bonds.
Yes, sir.
And we're talking about playoffs too. A guy who was able to play on teams with me, and we went to playoff games and just wiped people out regardless of rankings. He's also a guy who's very determined when it comes to the classroom, great grades, which is why he's able to be in the position that he's in right now.
Yeah, so Damon Barnes doing this thing up at Cornell sat down with us a few months ago and kind of just gave us a walk through his experience and what it was like and some of the challenges that he had to overcome. Cool. So sit back, relax. Damon Barnes is up next. Appreciate you coming on the show, man. Talked to mom, got her blessing. Really excited about having you on and just, learning from you what your process and your experience was like. So, typically we like to hear from guys. As a youth athlete, what was that experience like? Have you always been heavy football, or were you a guy that maybe played a little basketball and did some other things? Tell us a little bit about that.
Interestingly enough, my first sport was basketball. I played when I was 6. I started when I was 6. And then I didn't get the opportunity to play football until I was about 11 or 12 when I moved to the Bronx from Maryland, where I was born. I played for the Bronx Chargers for a couple years, I think about 2 or 3 years. And then I moved to New Jersey, where I played for the Teaneck Highwaymen.
Okay. Shout out to Coach Said.
Yeah, shout out Coach Said.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, the youth experience was definitely crazy because I played with a lot of kids that had way more experience than me. Kids that have been playing since they were 5, 6 years old, and it was definitely intimidating for sure, because even though I loved the sport since I was young, I watched it growing up. I always wanted to play, but I never got the opportunity to. It was definitely intimidating because just the knowledge of the sport, just the experience part, just how to maneuver on the field and stuff like that. So it was a great experience, just learning the sport, learning how to become a football player, learning how to become the man I am today. It was definitely a crazy experience. So.
I think that's a great optic. There are people that argue that starting later is actually better for some people, but to, I guess, hear a story of a guy who really started off late and still was able to be successful, I think that's great for kids to hear as well.
Oh, definitely.
In terms of high school, you went to Cardinal Hayes High School. You remember the 2020 class.
Right.
There's a lot of urban legend and lore around the kind of talent that was in that class.
Oh my gosh.
So, for the sake of entertainment,
Urban legends are fake. What are we talking about here?
How was it being in such a dynamic class? And what was that experience like?
It was definitely fun. Coming in with those guys freshman year, I can really remember it like it was yesterday. These guys, my guy Roddy, these guys were really characters. It made my experience 10 times better, and especially because I got to play with these guys every day, practice, games, everything. Won 2 championships with this class. It definitely made my experience more than I expected it to be. Just high school in general. A lot of people don't get to have the same experiences we had and go through the things we had to go through. That experience was from Coach Ali to Coach Dana,
every other player too. That's not even to cut you off, but that's why even when he said urban legend or whatever the case, that's why even when I get on here, I like to talk about the 2020 class with pride, just because it was a different class.
Facts.
And like you said, from freshman year all the way to senior year, we were able to grow together, and then now, as being able to have you here, you going to Cornell, I'm playing lacrosse now. Everybody's doing a different thing, but
Right.
it's all still love within that 2020 group.
That's a fact.
And I like that optic as well. The brotherhood and the camaraderie. You know, I joked with Damon on the way here. Like, it's interesting as an adult to kind of just think, what will you guys' relationships be like as grown men, as adults? You know, going to each other's weddings and baby showers and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But that's one of the beautiful things about team sports, specifically football.
Right.
So, academically, man, when you talk about a stud, a dude, like, listen, from the time you hit the ground in high school, you came in as an honor student. I could even remember, I think it might have been honors chemistry, or there was a class you had sophomore year, man. Like, we had you on like DEFCON watch. Like, you was really pressed behind it. But kudos to you for recognizing that it was a challenge. Talk to me about, you know, what that process was like, balancing the academics while still working extremely hard at being the best athlete you could be.
Every day, this honors program, you were held to a very high standard. And plus, I moved to New Jersey, like I said earlier on, during my junior year. So it was that, the travel, plus the assignments, plus football, plus everything was going on. It was definitely tough. Just sleepless nights, a lot of 2-hour naps, I would say. A lot of, like, because I had to wake up like 4:30 in the morning just to get to school by 7:50. It was definitely a grind. Like, it was a lot of mental toughness being built there. And plus, I had to worry about football, doing my football assignments, producing on the field. Because these guys know Coach O'Neal, how he is.
Just touched on producing on the field. I know, like, for myself, I had an 85 average, 3.0, whatever the case, but I could have applied myself way more now that I look back at it in high school. You were...
Say that again, I'm sorry, I missed that.
We don't gotta say it again, but you feel me? You, on the other hand, high academics, 90 plus, right? And like he said, he wanted you to explain it, but I really want you to, like you said, sleepless nights, like, just giving extra. How were you able to get that extra and put it to academics, though? Because I was always like, I'm willing to go to the gym 2-3 times a day, not sleep because of that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, like, the studying, I'm going to sleep. I'd rather go to sleep than study. So how were you able to, like, say, all right, the academics is a big part. I really got to tap in on this.
I think the biggest thing is my mom instilled for me from young, even from when I was first playing basketball. Like, if you don't produce in the classroom, it's no sports. And I'm pretty sure it's like that a lot of places, but like my mom really grinded that and like instilled that in me. So I was like, I love sports too much, whether it be basketball, football, whatever I was playing. Like, I love just being active so much that, like, I just needed that in the classroom. I needed to be that person at the top of the leaderboard, just to say that, you know, I can do both. I can do in the classroom, whether you need me to help you tutor somebody, do anything, and on the field, whether you can put me anywhere, I can play anything. I just wanted to be the true definition of a student athlete. You
And
know,
that has, I know, like, even like your coach would be like, all right, yeah, there's a certain standard on the team where everybody needs to be passing in order to play. But from what you saying, it sounded like your mom was kind of saying, all right, if you're not straight,
right.
and what my standard is not, if my standard is not being held, then you're not even going outside.
Right.
So that's where it's like, all right, as a parent, you're playing a big role. But like, all right, a parent might say, yeah, you know, I'm on top of my kid's homework, or I know what his grades look like, but at the end of the day, do you really? Mm-hmm. And you could be the deciding factor whether he's being that A student, or he's being a B, or he's being a C. So that speaks volume too.
Definitely.
I think an interesting part of your story that you shared that I don't want the viewer community to miss. So you're A Maryland kid
Yeah, the switch around. I
winds
was
up
gonna say
in
that
the
too. That's
South
crazy
Bronx,
switch around.
right?
It gets crazy.
While you're
for me,
in the
Dave.
South Bronx, you play football for a Jersey youth program, but
And then move
wind
to
up
Jersey.
at Cardinal Hayes.
Yeah.
So I like to play with that just because I think it's an important thing to realize. People don't understand the Hudson River is an interesting thing in terms of sports, specifically football. You know, you got powerhouse programs like St. Petersburg and Catholic, et cetera, et cetera. Heavy kids from New York, if he's a top recruited kid, potentially considers going to Jersey thinking that they're going to get better opportunities. I just thought it was interesting that
okay.
a kid moved to Jersey but still went to school in the Bronx to play high school, and more importantly, was able to really have some great things come
Yeah, he
out
could
of
have
it.
went to a Bergen or a Paramus. A Bergen, really though.
Yeah.
As a player, how do you feel about, I guess, the politics, for lack of a better term, in comparison to the
Jersey
type
ball.
of athletes that play football in New Jersey versus the ones that play here in New York? You know, you had the opportunity to play a pretty big game at MetLife Stadium against a very good St. Pete's team, and while, you know, at the end of the game the score was that they won and we lost,
Great game.
you played in that game, and there were some moments that everybody didn't know kind of which way it was going to go. So, like, how do you feel about that as an athlete?
Yeah. Personally, that when I moved to New Jersey and stuff like that, me and my mom had to make some decisions. Had to really sit down and think how we were gonna maneuver and get through and stuff like that. I won't say it was definitely a loyalty thing, but I just feel like it would make my life, my mom's life, more complicated if I just transferred out mid junior year, going into senior year. I just feel like, and Hayes is a wonderful program, and I just feel like we were building something very, very big, which we did. We ended up with a city championship our senior year. So I feel like just the growth we had together, I feel like that was a very big part of me staying Cardinal Hayes. And that game at MetLife versus St. Joe's, it was really like going into it. Obviously, we were the underdogs, and it's like I love that feeling, like being the underdog and proving everybody wrong. And I feel like even though we did lose, we still did prove everybody wrong, because that game was on paper was supposed to be
A blowout.
The first five,
I ain't even playing that
Great
game, so that might tell y'all a little something.
And yeah, it was a great game. Just with my brothers, just battling it out every single play, because they were definitely a great physical team, and like it was really a test to what we had that year. And you know, we didn't come out with the W, but we also came out with some lessons. Just who's willing to stick it out 4 quarters, and we had a lot of those guys that class, and that's why we both think, everybody thinks that class was so special. We had some dogs. We had some guys that were really going to do big things. I really can't wait to see where everybody ends up at. Pretty sure everybody's gonna do some good things in the future.
Touche.
As a coach, as someone who's interviewed quite a few people who talk about their recruiting process,
Let's hear it.
it's refreshing to hear a young man like you speak about loyalty and making a decision based on how it was going to be impactful to your mom.
Right.
Character-wise, I think that says a tremendous amount about who you are as an individual. Continue to build on those principles and laurels, man, because it's going to carry you far. Recruiting, COVID, what kind of schools you talking about? When you talk about being in a special class like that, recruitment is a heavy conversation. Early on in your recruiting process, you had another Ivy League offer from Princeton.
Right.
Just talk to us about like how that works, what that process is like, and some of the challenges you went through trying to get through recruitment during COVID.
Right. It was definitely, from the beginning, it was a challenge, because like it was, at that time, Hayes, like it wasn't like especially me, I wasn't a big wasn't a big Power 5, like all these schools are coming in. But at the same time, it was me, Coach O'Neal, all the coaching staff was just working everything out, here's the schools that I feel like you can get into, you can work with, and just Ivy Leagues, since I was a high academic kid, just Ivies, Patriot Leagues, just schools like that, high academic schools, were always on the table. And then I got in touch with Coach O'Neal put me in touch with the Princeton coach. So, and I was like, whoa, like this is like, I was excited, I was nervous, all the feelings that you would generally get out of a kid that was like just getting into recruitment. I was nervous, I was talking to him, and then one day he pulled the trigger. He was like, yeah, we're gonna offer you stuff like that. So
that was your first one?
Yeah. And like he just pulled the trigger. So I was kind of hyped cause like Coach O'Neal called me down.
During school?
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. This is great.
He knows.
What period?
And Coach O'Neal called me down, and then we were just chatting it up, and then he pulled the trigger. He said, we're gonna offer you. So I was excited, and it was before lunch. So I called my mom. I was like, Ma, Princeton just offered me, and then she was crying on the phone.
I was gonna say,
I know he's about to lie. He's about to lie like
I was sure your mom was ecstatic on the phone.
Yeah, she was really happy. She was really proud of me. Yeah, so I was hyped the rest of the day. I was walking through the hall. Everybody was like, "Oh, yo, Princeton."
Oh yeah. That was the joke after that. This was Mr. Princeton right here.
That's what's up. So
from there on,
you get the Princeton offer, and then we have the whole COVID thing happen, and then I don't know if you can talk about it or if you even know, but talk to us about how that works. When you get an offer that early, how do you decide whether you're going to commit early, whether you're going to wait for more offers? How was that process for you?
Every kid that's getting recruited, every kid that's getting all these schools talking to him at one time, I feel like it's always pressure constantly to make a decision. Like, oh, schools might pressure you here. Schools, not that the schools didn't pressure me, but like schools might, hey, we want you here. Hey, we want you here. And it's like that constant pressure that you got to commit somewhere fast before it's
or to answer back to those texts like, hey, we want you, be like, yeah, I know, but
and then going back to my mom, she was a big part in helping me get through this, like get through the process, because she was like, she just kept real with me, like you don't have to rush yourself. You don't have to rush any decision, because this decision is gonna change your life, literally. And it's like she said, you don't gotta cater to anybody's like time
wants or needs.
Yeah. And it's like I took that to heart, and I took that during this recruitment process. And you ask coach questions one day, they won't respond, and then you get anxious. It's like, oh, do they even want me anymore? And it's like stuff like that would really get to you during this recruitment process. But I just had to, everything in life, you got to stick it out. You got to keep your head down, keep grinding, and that's what I did. And that's when more offers came. Like I had Sacred Heart and stuff like that. When those offers came, it was definitely, I was definitely ecstatic. I was happy. I was all these feelings, like I said, and then everything happened. Coaches, everything with those offers happened, and then COVID hit, and then COVID was just terrible for everybody. But actually, I think COVID was kind of a, not a lifesaver, but it definitely helped me on this journey, because then I got into prep schools because I didn't commit to a school. I got into looking at prep schools. Then I wound up choosing Salisbury, do a prep year, a PG year at Salisbury, and then shout out Salisbury. And then those coaches, and I got a new set of coaches, new set of players, everything. It was a different environment, in Connecticut, in the middle of nowhere, and that's when you really got to put your head down and grind. Cause it's just nobody is gonna expect that from where you come from. And it's like all the kids, like they don't look like me. They don't come from where I come from. So like you really gotta go up there and prove yourself. So, and then that's when Cornell. I got in touch with Cornell, and then they pulled the trigger on me, which was definitely that was like a sigh of relief, because like I'm all these
out of it.
Yeah, all these thoughts like is the school even gonna try to mess with me? Is school gonna pull a trigger on me? And they did, so I was really happy about that. And then I did wait a little bit before I committed, but Cornell was talking a different type of talk than these other schools, so I was like, yeah, this is the place I want to go. And I visited Cornell my junior year, so I knew how the campus looked, everything, how the town was, everything. So I was like, yeah, this is where I want to go. So I made that decision. I told my mom. First person I called my mom. I was like, Ma, I'm ready to make the decision. I committed that day. Told my coach, told the Salisbury coach. I even called Coach O'Neill, talked back to some of the teachers that really believed in me from Hayes, from Salisbury, stuff like that. It was a really cool moment. So it was good.
Good stuff, man. So, we always like to try to give guys an opportunity to leave some gems for the next up guys. So for that 8, 9, 10-year-old youth kid that's hearing your story and saying, wow, I would love to have that type of output and production and situation for myself, what do you say to that guy? What are your words of wisdom, encouragement, and just gems?
I would say most definitely just keep your head down. Just, make a lot of sacrifices that a lot of kids wouldn't make. Do the things that you yourself don't want to do, like get the 6 a.m. workouts, the 6 a.m. get up to go to school, whatever you got to do, practice, anything that you don't want to do, you have to put yourself in that predicament, like, oh, I got to think of, it's bigger than me, it's bigger than myself, it's bigger than my school. It's like, it's a family thing. It's really bigger than you every time, whatever sport you play. Just, you got to make those sacrifices and just keep your head down. Really hard work really does pay off. It's like, it's crazy, because it's like we're firsthand, like we from the Bronx, just coming up, really grinding it out in the trenches every day. Just believe in yourself, keep grinding, make the sacrifices, and you're gonna get where you need to go.
Good stuff, man. Great advice. Yo, Dame, man, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, definitely.
Continue to do the big things. I got some stuff that I'm working on that I want you to participate in the future, man. So stay tuned, but we definitely love you for coming on the show, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys for having me.
2020 finest.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Damon Barnes, DB at Cornell University, and we live at Off the Grid.
All right, that was a very interesting interview. Hope y'all could catch everything that young man was putting down. Shout out to Cornell University and Damon Barnes for coming through.
Yes, big shout out to Mom for making the interview happen for us. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Listen, it's time.
Let's see where it goes.
Yes.
Who's gonna compete?
I wonder who we'll be talking about week 2 in terms of who advanced, who went home, takeaways from the game. I'm excited.
Yes, sir.
Cardinal Hayes, Kellenberg, underdogs. Off the Grid, like to give a big shout out to Brooklyn Banners.
Yes.
If y'all haven't noticed. Season 2, we here.
Thank you. Thank you for the support. We love you guys. Keep following us and sharing our content. We got more to come.
Yes.
Absolutely. Some interesting stuff coming down the pipeline. We talk a lot of success stories. Don't want to spoil it completely, but we got some very interesting challenges that a young athlete faced on the collegiate level that I think is a conversation to be had at home with parents and athletes.
Eye-opener. Ready to have it.
Yeah, off the grid, stand up. As we see, Black Elvis, Roddy, OG. It's wavy. Look, started from the bottom, so we off the grid. Tryna make it to the top, we soon live off the grid. Had dreams of making teams, I was just a kid. But we off the grid, yeah, we off the grid. On the come up, so we off the grid. Had dreams of the league, we was all just kids. And the boys from the underground, they often miss the podcast, bringing light so they don't call it quits. Now pass the rock, I'm open on the 10. They call me wavy in the red zone for the win. Then do your dance on them, raise the roof, we got the fans roaring. Catch a pick and then do it again. Chicago ain't my home, but I can't bear to see us lose. Playing rough like Emmitt Smith, I'm bringing 22s. I move smooth through the traffic like convertibles. Try to play me man to man and I'ma have to prove you. Look good, feel good, play good. Only talking prime time, I need to pay good. Was more than just a game, we wasn't from the same hoods. The ball kept us off the block, had to try to remain good. Started from the bottom, so you know we off the grid. Trying to make it to the top, so we live off the grid. Had dreams of making teams, I was just a kid. Oh, we off the grid? Yeah, we off the grid.